Yes, Mr. Rich.
Yes, welcome once again to another Black Eyes TV production. Yeah, we got another powerful show for you after yesterday's insightful show about relationships. Today we're going into financial growth in business and in the community. Yeah, at the moment we got three powerful people on the panel and we got some more to come. But Mr. Riggs, my co-host, as always, talk to the people and start the show rolling, brother.
Yes, 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 yes. This is a powerful day, a powerful movement, more growth, more building, and more excitement to come. Today, as we always say, spend black. Make sure you go to every stall, like the Ankwell Bean Centre in Adelaide Road, the Pansy in Brixton, Netta Vitel in Brixton Station Road, and many other black stores. Keep on spending black. We have a special guest today. And her name is Victoria Walker. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, Terry?
I'm fine. And the people want to know who you are and what you're about. Because you know what? We need to promote our black people as much as possible and to identify us for what we do.
No, it's true, and I completely agree. So I am Lady Victoria Walker. I'm officially hold a lady title, mainly because I have I decided and made the decision to take myself out of the legal system, which is valuably done. So I officially hold a title as lady, and I guess I teach about financial and wealth growth. My background was, well, I started my journey after leaving university. I was picked up by a wealth management research firm. So that introduced me to the world of private banking and wealth management. And this is where the 1% had their wealth managed. So these were companies, there's about 60,000 companies that I had to manage, who were the prime caretakers of the 1% of wealth. So what that allowed me to do was to really get to grasp with the financial markets and how they work. You know, how does one become a billionaire? How are these people making their money? What was the catalyst to get them to where they were? And I think the financial markets have changed a lot, definitely since 2008. And so with me being really curious about the industry, I learned that a lot of the high net worth individuals and wealthy individuals had this major distrust with banks, private banks and wealth managers, because what happened in 2008 was a lot of people's wealth just got wiped off, like trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars were wiped off people's asset portfolios. So that led me to start my own consulting business, Walker Williams Consulting. And this is where I structured debt and equity deals between investor and company or individual. So what was happening is investors were going direct, peer-to-peer, so cutting out the banks. And the reason why they were doing that is because there's just a massive distrust in the industry around banks. So yeah, for the last 5 years, I have operated my consultancy business, structuring debt and equity deals around project financing and bridging loans and venture capital, pretty much anything that would need financing, really. But you're talking big level financing, so you're £2 million plus, all the way up to projects worth around 100 million. So what I'm doing now, because I guess the thing about knowing so much, and one, I was probably one of the only Black females in the, well, say not the only, but there was very few. And in my circle, I was one of the only Black and only female. It's very challenging in its own ways because, you know, it was just so uncommon. And not only that, I was quite young. I was 26. So you're dealing with a market full of, you know, middle class 55-year-old plus white males. And it comes with its own challenges, being a young Black female. So what I decided to do is, given that I had built quite a successful career, and you know, I felt my transition needed to go into more empowerment and teaching, especially women, around how to protect assets, how to grow your assets, how to raise money. I'm very big on cryptocurrency because this is the new money of the era. Cryptocurrency has been kind of my hat. I'm a big advocate for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, mainly because it gives the people back the power. You know, we are controlled by central authorities or central banks, which control the money supply and the base, the monetary base. Now, if they decide that they don't want to print any more money, we get affected as a people. If they decide they're going to push out more money, you know, we get affected as well because our currency is worth less. So I think what I'm trying to do, what I'm about, is really educating people around what the financial markets are. A lot of us don't understand it. We were never taught this in school. And even in university, there's layers to understanding how the financial system actually works. And I've spent the best part of 8 years studying it. So that is what I do.
Okay. Cheryl, are you there? Cheryl?
Sorry, trying to get to my mute button. I am here.
Okay. I want you to give an American perspective of what she just explained. Can you?
An American perspective?
Yeah.
Just in the sense that we know that you ladies from the Dagger Squad who have already been on the show are mirror images, in the sense that we know you deal with similar areas to the young lady here, Victoria.
To the financial game.
Yes, because what we
typically, the reminder of who you are and what you're doing in that reflection.
Correct. What we do is we assist people with starting, getting government contracts. So we deal more with the U.S. We have not branched over to your arena yet. But what we do is, once we get set businesses up, we assist them with getting government contracts. We also assist them with getting franchises or starting any other type of business that they may want to start. So we're looking forward to kind of working with you guys a little bit so that we can expand and get some more understanding of how the UK works, as far as, you know, doing government contracting or just business in general. So that's what we're, you know, working and hoping we can get started with doing.
So Victoria, how do you, in what she's explained, how would you explain the culture of the UK itself?
Well, I think, you know, the government contracts, given that we're in austerity and that the fact that the government have really just reduced the amount they're spending, and also there's this whole system of choosing who and who they will award contracts to. I think when we had a Labour government, there was a lot more fairness, probably a lot of overspending as well. But I think that there was, you know, opportunities there. For us now, it's really tightened. We're going through a stage of Brexit coming up. You know, our focus in this country is actually surviving that. So I think we have this challenge at the minute in our country where the availability of good long-term contracts and funding and even like just for procurement services in this country, I feel like we are lacking, because some of the bigger contracts that these companies will need, which may be around infrastructure or maintenance and things like that, we don't have many of the Black companies that are able to meet the requirements to take on these contracts. So I think our challenge here, especially because the Black community in diaspora here is relatively small in comparison to the major population, we have a big challenge in being able to get opportunities and contracts and even like funding from our local government agencies. And this is one of the challenges that we're facing in this country, I'd say, for the last 4 or 5 years, where prior to that, you know, there were opportunities, there were things people could do. And they do well, they still have this sort of equal opportunities criteria. So when you are applying for contracts, they will say, are you a woman? Are you from the BAME community? Because they were trying to make sure it was fair, and they awarded it, you know, fairly. Whether or not they do that is a different thing, but I think it's really different for us people here living in Britain when it comes to how the government relate to the community, the BAME community. And also I think that because we don't really necessarily have, I can't say we don't have a central voice, but I think we don't really have a central leader lobbying in government for the Black people in this country. So therefore our needs don't necessarily get met.
Okay, so yeah, we definitely are different in that department. The government is actually spending a lot of money on procurements and things of that nature. We do have set asides that are just for women businesses, for veterans and things of that nature, where they have to give a certain amount of that money to us. They have to. It's mandatory. And we also connect with financial institutions that are not running off of your credit. What we have is they just see a PO, and they're like, okay, you have a PO in place. We will at least fund that partial. We will fund partial amounts of that PO. So we have that capital that they need up front in order to secure those contracts. We have Mo that actually goes in and makes sure the compliance part of it is done. And if it's something that a small business cannot do alone, we do partnerships.
Right.
Because most of that money, I don't know about over there in the UK, but a lot of, I mean, other than entertainment, we have some other little industries that are doing well, but the companies that have the most money here is in the government. They have, they have a ton of money. So where else are you going to go to get this money?
It's true. I think, and the thing is, I think here they have the same protocols and procedures, but I also think that in terms of, and I have to speak from my generation. I am 31. I am considered a millennial, and I know there are companies out there like this, but I've worked in the business scene, and the majority of the companies that are turning over the 6 figures, the 7 figures that will meet the requirements. So I've done procurement, like procuring for projects via the government on behalf of companies and getting contracts. But when you look at kind of the requirements and the list that what they need and want, you will find that because, especially here in the UK, so we were talking first, second generation from the Caribbean, a lot of people that came here ended up sort of in the system. So it was just they worked for the system. They were paid hourly. They wasn't able to sort of build, or never got the capital to actually start building companies, building businesses, so they could take on these contracts. So I think our problem here, and I know America is really different because there's such a strong entrepreneurial culture out there. People kind of have to start up businesses. It's you're built off the entrepreneurial dream. Here, it's very different. We're built off the whole ruling class peasant. We run it, you work for us, that's it. And as much as they try and make it seem like it's not that, it is that, because we'll say 97% of the 3% of the population here will earn over like £230,000. The majority of the wealth is literally in 3% of this population, and we are probably the 7th nation in the world with the most unequal wealth gap. Now, wealth and having access to capital is how you start your business. You cannot start a viable business without seed capital. And in today's day and age, you're looking at least starting with at least a minimum of £150,000 to start a decent company where you can hire people, you can create the right processes. Black people aren't going to get that opportunity, very often don't get that opportunity here, mainly because of the banking system. And this is why I do speak against it, because I've seen the unfairness of it. Criteria for mortgages, criteria for all sorts of things. It is dependent on where you live, you know, your socio-economic background. If you by no choice of your own was born in the hood, and I'm not making this as excuses for why people need to stay in their situation, but I'm just explaining some of the barriers and challenges as to why people in this country don't thrive, especially on an entrepreneurial level, as much as they could. There's lots of talent here, but it's the lack of understanding of how the financial markets work, lack of understanding of how to really structure a scalable business that an investor from the capital markets is going to look at and say, do you know what, this is a viable company. You know, we don't have that you know, that knowledge is not really. So so our challenges now is, and this is kind of some of the work that I'm trying to do, is to help our community understand like how to tap into money, how to build a really good company that's sustainable, that grows, that employs people, and how to replicate that.
But you know, the one thing that I've always said is that I understand that the UK is very small and it's very hard to work in, because most of the business in the UK is built upon services, and what I tend to find out is that because the UK, in the perspective of it being diverse, of understanding that we know everybody outside the UK, which I always say that if we had based our sources from outside to bring back in, it probably were able to strengthen our companies and our businesses.
Good point. Foreign, yeah, good point. Very good point, because I think that's what it is when we rely too much on internal, when there's not so there's not enough to go around, there is, but we can't keep relying on this system that does not necessarily support the needs of the Black community here. So you're right. I think it is a case of could and should have been and can still look at, let's get other people from outside to actually support some of the amazing emerging budding entrepreneurs that do exist here, but just don't have the capital to start.
Because when I look at it in the format, there's a lady that's going to come in, her name's Amanda, and she deals in things in Sierra Leone. So they say, for instance, like the diamonds and the gold. And I've always said that if there is a way where she can buy and sell, but then able to inject a kind of like an investment plan on top of it, so that when people start to put money in, then they can able to invest in buying more and making someone able to buy and sell, so that their investments can increase. But I always say, because the community, and we understand that the community doesn't have much, is how do we get someone to able to have money to able to invest in something much more bigger?
Harry, I'm going to have to stop you on the community doesn't have much. Do you know that the Black community in this country spends £300 billion a year?
Yeah.
So we have a lot.
Well, you know what I get that. I understand that. Because
creation of
the
fun.
mindset to know how to not be consumers and fuel the system and start becoming investors within ourselves and community. So instead of buying your, I'm not saying don't buy nice things. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is priorities.
Yeah.
You know, if people understood that even putting down £50 a month in a high interest account and investing that somewhere into a small business wouldn't affect somebody's life and would improve somebody else's. But because we don't have these concepts and we're not creating these platforms and forums, it's not happening.
Yeah, and this is what I was always saying is when someone gets pushed to the crunch and they are about, let's say for instance, it's like almost like a threat to their living lifestyle, you will see how fast they produce that money. But what I'm trying to say is trying to able to find a structure. So let's say, for instance, if we can able to do them in the forms of trade in the beginning, to able to create some form of income so that they can make a certain little income on top of their wages or whatever they do, then they can able to, let's say £50 a week, then they can able to take that £50 and take £20 out of that and set up a form of a credit union or set up a form of a partner. So when they get that partnership, now when it's their turn, they were able to get £1,000. So then at that £1,000, they can take the £500 out of £1,000 and put it into an investment.
Yeah, I mean, Terry, these. Sorry, finish because
I would love to hear Monica on that point, because I know obviously the Dagger Squad is trying to build something from the ground up in that respects. So maybe Mon, if you could come in and talk about the program that you're running in respect to what Terry's talking about, from trying to build something from the minimal, so the wider community on a whole now have a more substantial amount of money to invest.
Well, again, I'm Monica, for those who don't know me. So the most important piece to building, especially building business, that I found out is training. So we're talking about trying to get individuals who only probably know how to go out and do the work. So you're getting them from being a laborer to an actual overseer and a manager. And in that respect, when you deal with mass amounts of people and you're talking about doing business with government, and then now we're not talking about just U.S. government, we're talking about UK, different other countries that you want to get involved. You have to understand the compliance and the rules and the laws govern those different countries. Same thing plays relevant here in the U.S. You have city, state, county, and federal law. And most people who are engaging in business, they don't know any. They only know buy and sell. Exactly. And so the most important piece that I can contribute to that is we've converted to doing more training and then taking it bits by bit. So we have somebody who's covering administrative correspondence, what the document should look like, what should be involved. And then we have the budget piece, which is the finance piece of it. And then we also have the person who goes out and seek and search for it, which is a lot of times what Cheryl does. So and so we're building on the training components to actually doing business, whether you're doing it from a private contractual perspective or a government arena. And so that's the most important. And then with that, like I was with a director of finance on yesterday, we were in office, and she started speaking in reference to the difference between employees and independent contractors and what that documentation should look like, not just the W-4 versus the W-9 or the W-2 versus the 1099, but also how does, if you got audited, what are they looking for to determine whether that person was a 1099 contractor or an employee. And so trainings like that is very, very important that people understand. When you want to do big business or you want to expand, to understand terminology, you have to understand tax rules in different locations, and it's not just from one perspective. Remember, I said city, county, state, and federal, and you have to cross party lines in different states when you're dealing in the states. And then when we talk about international law, you got to worry about international customs and all of that stuff that's involved. So I found that training is the #1 source to getting your businesses from the ground up, because they're going to have the skills. Some of them are going to have the skills. They can train on that. They can upgrade their skills all the time. However, you know, if you're going to expand business, they're going to expect you to know. You're not going to be held accountable for what you don't know. You either know it or you don't, or you're going to lose the contract.
Okay. We just got Garfield in the house. Garfield, are you there?
I am live and direct from straight out of Kingston, Bronx. I'm actually on what they call Kingston in New York. They call Kingston White Plains Road. This is where all the Jamaicans are. So I'm under the train tracks. Hold up, let me show y'all where I'm at right now. So this is historical right here. You see this? This is White Plains Road. Okay?
Yeah.
This is the train tracks right here. The infamous #2 and the #5 riding. Well, #2 train. Sometimes the 5 come on here too. But this is legendary right here. All right? Just to let y'all know.
Okay.
All right. So what's going on?
Okay, so we're talking about micro, starting from the beginning of trying to make some form of source. And Monica was talking about training. I want you to kind of liberate on like when you were talking about the Z card and able to get your credit scoring up.
Yeah, basically, I mean, when you talk about business, everything in life is about connections.
Mhm.
You got to make some connections. And you got to keep. I'm not the type of person who I mean, I've matured in the last year. Usually when I meet people, I cuss them out when I don't get what I like. But I don't know. I don't know what Cheryl and Monica did to me. But boy, I tell you, you hear the trains coming out. Them sisters changed me, boy. Because I don't really have that much people in my circle, man. I keep my circle small because people stab people in the back all the time.
Mhm.
But the bottom line to business is, man, always try to make connections.
Okay.
When I made a connection with Monica, that changed because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have known my econ. And if it wasn't for her, a lot of things wouldn't happen in my life.
So,
You know, so I gotta give it up to Monica for that. What's up?
so
Go ahead.
give us a breakdown on the econ in the econ.
What's that? My econ?
Yeah, and what it's about. And what
Well. Basically, my econ is a financial success company, and what happened is you can be your own home. You can have your own home-based business. You could be in London and have this business. As a matter of fact, because you know why? They have what's called the Cashback Money Mall. The Cashback Mall, whenever you shop on it or somebody shops on it, you're getting money just for them shopping on your site, or just because you referred them. You're making money. So you could, just by knowing me right now, you could make money tomorrow. That's how great my econ is. And that's just one of the many things that they have that you could make money off of. They got this coffee and this tea stuff. They got the health stuff. This is stuff you could do from London, England. But the best thing for you right now is to join the Cashback Money Mall for free. You ain't got to pay a dime. And all you're going to do is, I'm going to make up to 10% off of whatever you bought. 10%. Whatever you spend, whatever you get back out of your, whatever you spend, because of me referring you, I get 10% of that. You can't beat that. And you all the way in London. You could be in Africa. I make money from my econ. It's just that the owner ain't envisioned. He ain't envisioned that yet. I'm just speaking on his behalf. I don't know, but I don't think he envisioned that. But Cashback Mall could be bought. You could spend all this money in London, and we making money off of whatever you spend. You can't beat that. That stuff you can't beat every day. My econ, let me tell you what it does. It reduces your tax for folks that live in this country, though. It reduces your tax rate, meaning that they adjust your W-4 so that you could get an extra $200 to $400 every pay period. So that's an extra $400 to $800 a month. That's what my econ does. My econ also helps you with clean up your credit. If you want to do it by yourself, they got you.
Okay.
Then if you want to know how to get the $750, how to invest and reduce your debt, they got a whole system for that, income shifting. Then they got let me see what else. They got a company called Legal Shield that could help you with lawyers. If you need a lawyer to call somebody or write a letter for you, you got that at your disposal for free. If you want, let me see what else they got. They got the ID Defender. Anybody try to steal your identities, like say you know, somebody trying to go to court and say, hey, their name is Garfield Reed, they'll alert me and say somebody trying to use your name. So I'm telling you, my econ got so much things, bro. I can't even say it in one show, man. It's so much things they got to benefit you as an individual. And I think international wise, it's gonna be good. For the Z Black card with the international card, once that comes out, which was my goal for joining in like almost a year ago, because I could send money to you for free instead of using Western Union or MoneyGram. I could just send the money Z Black to Z Black, and that's free. Instead, if we doing business, you get a Z Black card, so we ain't got to deal with Stripe and PayPal and Square and all these merchant companies that take 3.5%. Let's do it this way. You get a Z Black card, boom. I have one. We just trade money that way. We ain't got to worry about them no more. So Z Black card is good for that, because what happened is I got 5 people I send money to every month. So once I get the international card, I'm just gonna give all of them, the 5 of them, and just send the money to them each, and then say, here what, pull this out, da 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 da, and that's it. The Z Black card is gonna take the world by storm in a few months. It's gonna take the world by storm, because that's why I loved it, because Western Union making money off all of us. Because they charge $9 sometimes to send money to Jamaica, or they charge $15 depending on the season of the year. But Western Union is they're billionaires because of us. So all I'm saying to everybody, yes, ma'am.
Sorry, can I just add to that? Because this is why I do cryptocurrency, because the biggest I would say con, or I mean, let's just say, for example, people sending money back home to Jamaica and supported by cryptocurrencies or other platforms of money transfers are very important, because one, it reduces the time, it reduces the fees. We spend billions just on fees when they're not in effect doing anything. So I just wanted to throw that in, because I am about crypto, and this is one of the reasons why it works, because you don't have to pay the fees that you would pay with a traditional money transfer.
Oh, okay. That's what's up. And you know what? I'm into cryptocurrency too, but I don't publicize it. What I used to deal with Bitcoin 5 years ago, but I'm studying the cryptocurrency market because there's some companies. You got to ask yourself, why doesn't Donald Trump invest in it? Why doesn't in Bitcoin, that is? Why don't the big time players on Wall Street invest in Bitcoin?
But they are. That's the thing.
And I'm thinking,
they are heavily.
no, I don't think they are, sis. Because there's another company.
They are.
There's another company that I know about that I see the guy. What's his name? This billionaire guy. I forgot his name. Warren Buffett. He'll never invest in Bitcoins, and he wrote an article about it. But
yeah,
what are they investing in? But what they're investing in, sis, what they're investing in is another cryptocurrency, not Bitcoin. They are into. Oh, I think what your point is, they're into cryptocurrency, but not really Bitcoin. Okay, I get your point. I get your point.
And the thing is,
that's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say.
But even with Bitcoin, because it is the first blockchain, so you've got to understand, like, Bitcoin is like the Google, it's the originator. It's always going to have its value and worth. You know, so number one, most protocols that run up Bitcoin and blockchain follow the first blockchain, Bitcoin. So I think there's a lot of weight there. I mean, I invest what I put in Bitcoin because I understand how it works in terms of the supply and demand that it goes through. There's only going to be a certain amount of coins mined. Market adoption is not going to stop. You know, it's not going to stop. If you like the idea of decentralized currency, will it be decentralized currency? Probably not. It might.
Garfield, your thing is humming. Your background is humming.
Oh, my background is humming. Don't worry about it. All right. Is it still? Is it?
Let's go off and on. Just go off and on with the mic.
All right. Cool. Let's whenever she finish, I'll jump back in. Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah, no, so all I was just trying to point out is, I mean, I don't want to make this a debate about cryptocurrency. I mean, I support, I'm very heavily involved in Revo coin. Will be the digital currency. It's not a crypto, it's a digital currency, but it's backed by assets. I raise money through the fund as well with the Revo coin, which is really backed by humanitarian trust. So just to add to how crypto plays into what I do now. So I set up the Nubians Women's Relief Foundation, which is a trust. And we've raised a pool of money, mainly through humanitarian funds and philanthropies and investors. And and I've done a lot of it through crypto as well, because I have access to funds through a coin, which I can transfer these coins into euros. And there's ways I can create these coins, not myself, but I can go to my funder and say, look, I have this project. There's a school that I want to go and fund down the road. Can you issue me out 1.5 million euros Revo coins? I will get my issuance and I can sell them back and get 1.5 million euros. But it has to be for projects. So I think people have to understand what mechanics are going on behind the scenes in terms of what currencies are out there, what currencies can do, what ICOs are coming out. Everything is about knowledge. Everything is about know-how. There is a hell of a lot of money out in the system. And there's also a lot of people that want to create positive changes in this world. And so like the gentleman said, it really is about your connections, who you know, what you know. But I definitely want the community to really start opening their eyes to what is changing. We're all talking about money and making money and business, but what actually is money? What are we actually working for? And I think these are the questions I cover a lot in my workshop. I'm not anti-money, I'm not against money, but what I am for is people that give their labor and give their time are rewarded adequately for it. Currencies, the current traditional fractional reserve banking does not work. So cryptocurrencies and other currencies that have more of a fairer model behind them are where we should be looking, especially as a Black community, because we can now create our own currency, so we don't have to rely on the Federal Reserve or the Bank of England for our monetary supply.
Okay.
Victoria, I'm looking in the chat room and people are asking, how do they invest into Bitcoin?
Talk to me. There's several ways, and I think, okay, I'll tell you what I do. So there's 2 ways you can invest into Bitcoin. You can open up a wallet. There are a few different types of exchanges. So let me explain. There's an exchange where you would actually exchange your fiat. It's a peer-to-peer transaction. You exchange your fiat currency for Bitcoin. Then you need to find and store it on a wallet. Now, your wallet, let me tell you something. If you lose your wallet and you lose your keys, you lose your Bitcoin. So it's very, very important that you understand what you're doing when it comes to getting a wallet. Now, what I do, I have a Bitcoin bank. It's not necessary, but it's a company. Now, what people have to remember is anytime you put money into the bank, you are a depositor, which makes you an investor, because what they will do with that money is go and trade it and make millions of pounds or loan it out, charge interest, which you never see a penny of, right? So with Bitcoin, I work with a company. I was introduced to this by my investor network, and it was just the most amazing idea ever. So I had Bitcoin. What this company allowed me to do is to deposit my Bitcoin with their bank. I got an app, very much like a bank, my app and everything, and they would pay me 1% a day. So my 1 Bitcoin turned into 4 because I was leveraging the art of compound interest. So you can buy Bitcoin, but it's what you do with your Bitcoin. People just want to buy and hold it. I buy it, I lend it, I loan it, I use it. I actually buy things with it. I pay people with it. You know, so, but yeah, going back to how you buy Bitcoin, go onto an exchange. There's several out there. Some are safe, some aren't. You need to really do your research. Or, as I said, talk to myself. I will tell you some of the best exchanges to use. And then I would say, look at how you leverage, because this is how you learn how investment works and how it should work, how banking should work. When you put your money in as a depositor, you should get interest because they're making interest off your money.
Definitely. Monica, have you got anything to add on the Bitcoin investment side from the USA side? You know, how does it work? Is it the same? You know, anything to add on?
I don't have anything to add on. Pretty much sum that up in Garfield. It's pretty much the same. I think in reference to getting people involved with Bitcoin, when you come to any investment, is especially our go-getters or those who are hungry to get involved with any type of investment, just don't have the knowledge on it. And sometimes we are so knowledgeable that we forget the little details and coming back to the basics, like basic 101, like terminology. And some people just don't get it or don't understand. Or if they do put their money in, they're looking for $1 million right now. So they don't stay in long enough. So we don't do well with time. Like even with work, with the workforce, somebody works, they want their check after they finish that 8 hours. They don't want to wait 2 weeks. They don't want to wait until they get the deposit in the bank. You know, when you say you process a payroll, they look for that check like the next 5 minutes. Same thing with investments. When people you try to get people interested in investment, they know that it's time interest invested over time, but if they give you $100, $2,000, you better believe they want to use that $2,000 next week, but then they still want the investment. And it don't work that way.
It's a mindset. It's a mindset. You know, you
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And for some folks, you have to get them involved from like a payroll perspective, like a deduction coming out of their check where they can't touch the money and give it back to you. Because once you put the money in their hand or currency, or even if you even show them that money is available to them, you're not going to get it back to invest. In most people cases, like they have to do payroll deductions. Some people, you have to do payroll deductions and then let it go. Because think about this. Most people that retire that have been doing payroll deductions for any type of investment, regardless of what it is, as soon as they retire, they exhaust their funds because they have access to it.
Yeah.
Like you got to groom people. Like you have to groom people to have discipline over their own funds. And even if you can reach out and touch it, you should. Yeah, you know, and so that's how it's like the discipline of like it's almost like you got to train from babies to say, okay, let me teach you how to start investing. And I give you $5. Okay, we're gonna take $2, and here's what we're gonna do with it. And you no longer have access to this $2. Okay, but like if you're my nephew, he counting all his dollars. So if you take 2 from him, he gonna come back next week and say, remember I gave you $2? Can I get that back? That's how adults are.
Can I just mention just one thing? I say Bitcoin can be seen as an investment, but it's also it is something, what I call a medium of exchange, which is like, it's like money. You can exchange it, people value it. So people want to get Bitcoin to store it, to hold it, so it's worth more in the future, which is fine. But it's also stuff you can buy things with Bitcoin. Lamborghini has just started accepting Bitcoins for Lambos. Why? Because guess what? The richest people in this world use Bitcoin for their transactions. Why? Because if they want to send $1.5 million to somebody, guess how long it's going to take them? A couple of days. The bank's going to ask them all kind of questions, their dog's date of birth and all sorts of things. And it's going to take maybe a couple of days to clear. With Bitcoin, a matter of seconds, cost less than £1, and nobody else needs to know or be involved in that transaction, which is actually our right. So I know people like to think of it as an investment, which it can be because it's like a commodity as well, but it also is a store of value, a medium of exchange, and a unit of account, which is what money technically is as well. So yeah, I just wanted to make that clarification because everyone thinks Bitcoin investment, money, money, money. Whereas I'm thinking, no, it's a currency. I accept Bitcoin in my business. I actually prefer Bitcoin because I know someone paid me in Bitcoin last week is likely to go up the week after. So I've made more money. And I think it's also looking at how businesses, what currencies and what medium of exchange and value businesses accept as well as a form of payment. Bitcoin could be one of them. I like Revo coin because it's traced and backed by the euro. It's more secure. Yes, and you get 10% yield. So that's another coin that the Black community probably would want to look at. It's a very, very good coin. Obviously, everyone buzzword Bitcoin, they get it. And Revo doesn't go up like Bitcoin. So it's not an investment, but it's more currency that we can use and accept without having to use centralized authorities and banks as the middlemen because they're not needed. They're really not needed.
Yeah, I wanted to go.
Yeah. My econ, I'm sorry.
Go on, Monica. Go on, Monica.
In my econ, Mr. Stokes always say we have to see our money in more than just actual cash. You got to be able to see it in other cash-producing assets.
Exactly.
Okay, but I want to go right to the core. Right? Let's imagine I don't have nothing. I've just got a job and I'm earning let's say $200 or £200 a week. I want to know, I want to increase my money from 200 to 300. And I want to go and work in this kind of system and with the community to earn a little bit extra. How would you explain and how would you train them, Monica?
Oh, you direct that one to me?
Yeah.
If you wanted to make, okay, so you had 200 and you wanted to make $300, right? So, okay, so there's, you say, how would I train? Well, I'd have to train you. If you're going to get involved with investments, then of course I'd have to make sure you understand that anything you do, you take a risk. So if you buy low, sell high, buy high, sell, or whatever you want to do, right? So you're talking about flipping, that's something I want to say, but it might not be legal. But in the same sense, I'm not the person to talk about. I'll start Sharon will come in on that one. She must not be. She, don't say nothing, Richie.
listen. But this is the thing, yeah. And I know Terry's trying to get this point across that a lot of our people are scraping by, majority of the wages going on rent, so let's say on a realistic one, let's take the sensible people, yeah, not the splurgers and whatever, which the sister Victoria pointed out that we have a lot of capital that we use sillily that we could reinvest definitely, yeah, but on a minimal basis, somebody might have at best maybe 30 to 50 pounds a week, let's say.
Can I just say, sorry, I'm not interrupt because I can answer this question fully because I was there when I started and what I did was leverage. And I would always, you know what I would say to people, because I think starting a business was really difficult and can be, as Monica said, without the training and support. And even with that, you're dealing with competing with bigger companies with more money, more staff. It's difficult. What I found, the difference between being in a company and self-employed, the middle ground was actually network marketing. And the gentleman that came on before that was talking about what those opportunities really work. I have a lot of high net worth friends, like many, like men that are like 66. live in the country, you know, have hundreds of millions, but their income, they do it a lot through like network marketing opportunities, because it's an income, it's distributed sales. So what people forget is when you're working for a job, no matter what output you put out, even if you do sales, you're only going to be paid on, you know, one bit commission, whereas distributed sales, so distributing the revenue between a company and between the people that distribute your products, is actually a really good way to build income. I mean, I have a network marketing business that's what and it just works itself now, because I've done so, and I just did it because I was introduced to it and I thought, let me try it, and it works, and I don't have to do a lot of work, but I have an income from it. I have an income that just sits there. So people need to think about, because people think, oh, pyramid scheme, everything's a pyramid scheme, but I'm telling you, even in one of the companies, 6 millionaires are made in 6 months. Just in one of the businesses that I've been involved in, I was dead against network marketing for a long time, until I actually did it. Well, and it does work. So to answer your question, the people who don't want to take the big jump and the risk of actually starting up your own company, because let's be real, 96% do fail in the first 2 years, and after that a lot more, because business is hard. It takes a certain mindset and person. It's not for everybody. Whereas network marketing, you've got the freedom of being an independent business person, but the support of an actual company, business backing with good products, that all you can focus on is selling, and also good teams. A lot of my good contacts that I've met, or people that I've networked with who do quite well, are in network marketing. And I think the community needs to actually start looking at this as a really viable option as a career.
Well, sister, let me ask you this. Let me ask you and Monica this. Mon, just one sec before you answer. What are the key 5 qualities, let's deal with it this way, that you think need to be included in that mindset to help you to succeed? So I'll let Monica start off on this one, yeah? But because everything you're saying is completely viable, but on the ground up basis, just as a starting point, what are the key behavioral points? What are the key 5 mindsets that need to be in place that you think are the most valuable to have when trying to do small investments, start a business, you know, just embark on this journey that we're talking about, Mon?
Well, you got to get involved. You actually have to want to do it, because nobody else can do it with you. And like Victoria said, with the MLMs, those are definitely a great start. And it's really only thing you're doing is actually selling the product. One of the products, one of the components I was going to throw out is Stash, which is an app, and it actually takes you link your bank account in the cents. So let's say you got $15.30. Well, it would take 30 cents and invest it for you, and so you only have the actual dollar. You look again, you've actually generated revenue. So when you think in terms of characteristics, discipline has to be one. You got to be willing to get out there and market yourself. So you have to be approachable, marketable. You have to definitely communicate, because if you don't communicate what you're trying to do or convey the message, then you won't get anything back in return. 3, you got to be able to do the research and read. You know, you can't expect someone just to always just tell it to you. You have to be able to go out, process this information, and then understand it, and then apply it. So those are, and then you have to have some social loyalty, some social integrity with yourself, and then with whoever you're trying to deal with. Because if you're all over the place, you won't be able to do anything. You won't be able to do anything. So I definitely agree with the MLMs. There's several that we're part of and making way with. And a quick investment learning tool is the Stash, because it takes the cents. Every time you spend money, it would just take the cents from the money you spend and invest it for you. And those are ways to go. And so along with that comes discipline. That would be my #1 top characteristic.
Okay,
you got to mute.
Garfield.
No, you got to mute.
Garfield.
Yeah, he done came back in with all that racket.
Do you hear us, Garfield?
I could hear you guys, yeah.
All right, listen, while we got you, we're dealing with the top 5 things that you
Can
you hear us?
I can't hear you, brother.
Can you hear us now?
Say it again.
We're just discussing the top 5 mindset points to have in place when trying to invest, grow any business, what are the key 5 things that you need, behavioral points, you know, traits, things that you need to exhibit when embarking on trying to invest and start a business?
Bro, I don't want to respond. I think you said something about growing and investing, and what are the top 5 things?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what you said.
That's it. You got it right.
Hold on. Let me mute myself, and then see if I could hear you guys better. All right, go ahead.
Can you hear me better now?
Go on, Richie.
Nah, the connection is horrible. The connection is horrible.
We can hear you clear. All right. I tell you what.
I'll say something. I'll come in.
I'm wondering if it's me.
That's cool.
Let me jump out and jump back in.
All right, go in, Cheryl. Go in, Cheryl,
all right, so I had to step away for a minute. I don't know if y'all called my name. I had some business stuff going on. But I think the 5 characteristics that you have to have in order to run a successful business is drive. You have to have that drive. You know, if you don't have the drive to say, I want to be a business owner no matter what, like every day you get up is about starting your own business and being successful. Knowledge. You have to go out there and investigate whatever type of business that you're trying to start. You can't start a business if you don't do that research. And that's where a lot of us slip at. You don't do the research. You know how much research I did to learn about government contracts? I went to all of the events that they had. I bought books off the shelf, not just on the internet. I went to a bookstore and bought books. We don't do that anymore. You know, so I had to make myself understand what I was trying to do when it comes to government contracts or any other business. The other thing that you need to have is flexibility, people, because I'm going to tell you right now, when I woke up one morning and said, I want to be an entrepreneur because I was tired of the 9-to-5 grind, my first thing that I actually started was a mortgage company. I started a mortgage company and ran that thing until 2008, until the bust. But guess what? Because I had flexibility, it gave me that bounce back. Like, okay, this didn't succeed or it's going down the drain. I got to jump up and do something different. You got to have that flexibility. And flexibility comes with the first 2 things I told you, drive and knowledge base. So you go right back to the drawing board when you get kicked down. You get back up and say, nope, this mortgage thing didn't work. But guess what? It's not going to stop me from being an entrepreneur. I'm going to get it done. Then you have to understand money. If you don't understand money, you don't need to start a business. If you don't understand that if I'm spending this much out, I need to have this much coming in, you don't need to start a business. You have to understand money. And the last and final thing that you got to understand, sometimes your family isn't going to be in your corner. A lot of us, you know, because you don't get that acceptance because somebody else didn't buy in on your idea, you get down and out and say, okay, well, maybe this isn't going to work. You know, but guess what? As long as you believe that whatever it is you're trying to do is going to work, that's all it takes. Because I've had several different businesses, some which are doing very well now, some that didn't do well. But I didn't need anybody else to believe in me because I believed in Cheryl. That's all it takes. So you got to be your own drummer. You hit them drums and beat them drums and make your own self get out there and do what you got to do in order to make it.
Beautiful. Well said, Cheryl. Well said.
Yes. I want to ask a question because someone asked me, you know, in the States, do they have a form of cash trading programs? Is anyone can answer that question?
I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know?
No, I don't deal with state.
Cheryl?
No, I'm not familiar. Cash trading programs.
Yeah. So let's say, for instance, a trader needs a format of a certain amount of money to trade.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have any kind of programs like that?
I'm sure they do, but that's not something that I have a lot of knowledge in. So I don't like to give people information on stuff that I haven't researched.
No, and it's fine because we
yeah,
have to
you
be
go out
open with this. Yeah.
You go out there and say, Cheryl told me to do this. No.
No, we ain't getting it. But you know what it is like, is there any form of startup program? Let's say, for instance, I go on holiday, let's say I go to an African country and I see a whole heap of what we call shea butter. And I need some form of funding to able to establish myself in business, to able to import and export the shea butter. Is there any program that could help in that and like growing a business in that format within the?
Well, not to my knowledge. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
So in putting it this way, if I was starting up a small business in the States, is there funding for that?
Yeah, I mean, you could start up a small business in many ways. You can do they have a lot of programs out here. I am one of those programs where a contract that I have with the state right now is one that helps with dislocated workers. So people who want to start a business and don't know how, don't know where to start, they actually pay me for them to come to me and show them how to start those businesses. They come for free. I connect them with financial resources. I connect them with business ideas and to make their business flourish. That we also have SBA and a lot of other businesses out here or organizations that can assist you get where to help you get where you're trying to go. So yeah, we have a lot of help out here to assist small businesses.
Okay, Victoria.
Yep.
Yeah, is there anything similar to that over here that you would know of?
Yeah. So we had the startup loans company, which issued. In fact, when I started my business 6 years ago, that was kind of what got me off the ground with additional seed capital. So there's the startup loans company. Now the only thing is they've tightened their credit criteria, so to be honest, a lot of people won't get them now. But there are other things like crowdfunding options. So if you want to start up a business and you've got a viable idea, and I am trying to run some workshops on how to actually create a good business plan to get investors to actually, want to get into it. Because I think now we are looking for seed capital and for money to start a business. It's going to definitely be the entrepreneurial circle. Venture capital is where the money is really at. Government don't really have much. So yeah, Seeders is one platform. What's another one? Crowdcube is another one. That's quite good. There's a few more out there, but yeah, crowdfunding is a really good way to raise money for starting a business. Government projects are limited right now.
So I'm just thinking, in the form of connecting the two together, is there something like, let's say, a startup business in the States and a startup business here, but they both want to do a joint adventure? Would there be a format of an international funding in that format?
Yeah, there is, because I think it's
because a lot of people don't really. They always, what we find out is that a lot of people these days only talk about what's in their own area or in their own postcode or where their own community. But if they're two big communities from two different places can able to collide together and get that, how would you explain, or what would you show them to how to get to grasp into that funding, even if it has to go through the banks?
So again, I mean, because remember, a business can be across all jurisdictions. It can be international. I think it was it Monica who mentioned that obviously you would have to make sure that you're compliant with all the regulations of each country. But in terms of doing, if I'm correct in what you're thinking, is actually having like an international business where you joint venture with a company in the States, doing something similar to one in here and becoming a bigger business and serving more people. I think it is viable. And I think the way you would do that is by, one, seek an investment. You know, the bigger your business is worldwide, the better anyway. So an investor's going to like that on paper anyway, whether it's a UK investor or a African investor or wherever, they're going to like that you're international, because this is what businesses want: global growth for a globalized world. So yeah, I think in terms of setting that up, it would just be the two companies actually coming together, agreeing that they want to do, and then finding a fundraiser. Or, I mean, yeah, basically, because again, fundraising, it's a big topic. I'm not saying find a fundraiser, it's how do I do it? But I think in terms of what you're saying, it's very viable, probably very needed as well, and very doable. And I think in actual fact, it adds a lot of value to an investor if the company had a partner abroad. How is a whole different topic for a whole different session.
Okay. Monica, are you there?
She's on mute.
Rich.
Yes, my brother.
Okay. Now, in the forms of what we were talking about, right? I want you to kind of ask a certain question in that, in aid of starting up something. And sometimes we, you know, on the ground roots, you know, we need something to financially push us forward, but it doesn't relatively need to be cash. I want you to ask a certain question, let's say on the basis of something to help you to boost up, let's say, a website.
Well, again, I think what my colleague is alluding to is in forms of trade. That's something that a lot of people take for granted. One of the things that, again, that I think Terry is alluding to is one of the things we're trying to do here is provide a portal on the web for people to kind of make a one-stop shop to get certain products, again, in relation to our own community, the Black community, health, educational products, clothing, yeah, just keeping that those basic toilet roll mechanics as they're called, running in our own sector. So again, that small margin that may be made on those products, again, after a while, with the right mind state, with saving, can amount to something bigger. But one of the things I wanted to speak to the sister that she was talking about earlier was not having companies in a good position to tender for contracts. And I wanted to ask her, what is in the UK, especially, obviously, what are the minimum amount of money that most contracts that require tenderment, if that's the right word I'm using, usually run for? Because obviously I know there's various industries that require it, but on a monetary value one, when does that become something that you may have to incur, or what kind of industries also that you may be in where that would be something that you would have to look into prospectively doing?
Okay, so just so I understand your question, are you asking me in what instances do government procurement look at history? Because what they will look at is your history. Basically, how they do it when you're tendering for contract, they're going to compare you against 3 other existing businesses, probably more, but they shortlist it down. And so what they're looking at is really how long you've been trading, your turnover, your company governance, your insurance, your business, your business in itself. And I think sometimes what I've seen in working with entrepreneurs is that I think Cheryl mentioned it, Monica, is that they're very good at their trade, but when it comes to, you know, the governance, the legalese, the legalities, the structure, the processes, these are what the companies look for. They want to know, if we give you this contract, are you going to deliver? Now, I can't speak for all, because this is not my forte per se. I have done contracts for particular industry, which is around property maintenance and bidding for those contracts. Yes, we are more service based, but again, it's what you have to understand is like the system is almost has like a blanket kind of process application. It's all paperwork, and it's about ticking the boxes that they look for. And if you don't, you know, match up with, whether it could be, you know, your turnover, your profit margins aren't high enough, or you might not have enough staff on board, or whatever reason they can think of, you're just not as good as the other company, you may not get the contract. So I guess it's for all businesses to put themselves in the best position on paper, because that's what it's all about, paperwork. What does it say on paper? How much do you turn over? How much people do you employ? How many people do you intend to employ with the contract? And then, yes, there are criteria. Are you Black and ethnic minority? Are you, you know, a woman? Because they are legally meant to award contracts to, you know, certain types of groups. But whether they do that or not, I don't know. But yeah, I think it is getting more difficult, and you've got to remember everything's about, you know, competition. There are so many people applying for these contracts, so you do have to stand out. Does that answer your question?
No, that definitely does. And the chat room is loving some of the answers that you're giving. They're really appreciating all you sisters for joining us today. Cheryl, I saw your mic flick on and off. Was you going to add something, my dear?
Well, yeah, I just know here a lot of times the government is just looking for that lowest bid, you know, and they're like, okay, they're worried about their budget. They're trying to make sure, hey, and the last thing they're worried about, which is sad, is whether you can actually do the contract work. So they look at your price, your budget that you put in. They say, okay, I'm gonna compare this with everybody else's, and I'm gonna give it to you because you're the cheapest. And the yeah, and they do that. That's why a lot of small businesses tend to win, but they didn't budget properly though. You know, sometimes they can fall out because you underbid it, like really underbid it, and you don't even have enough money to perform the job.
Exactly. Exactly. I was gonna say on the other side, you can't compete with someone who can actually bring their costs down because they've got a bigger business. You can't.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I tell everybody whenever I'm doing a show, I always tell people to go and watch that movie, War Dogs, WARDOGS. That is a true depiction of how the government works. For those of you who did not see that movie, these guys won a multi-million-dollar contract selling the Pentagon, not just any other government agency, the freaking Pentagon bullets. Okay, and they had no background at all in the bullet industry. And like Victoria said, it's all about the paperwork. The government was looking at that paperwork that they didn't copy paste together, and they showed that in the movie. And these guys won a multi-million-dollar contract. And it's so funny because they were able to to fulfill the contract with some little shifty moves, but they had underbid it by like 30 or 40 million dollars. And the Pentagon people are sitting in there laughing at them like, yeah, we just want to see who you were. But you guys basically underbid it under 30 million. Like they could have got $30 more million off the contract.
Yeah.
But it's all about your budgeting. So it's in some cases it's easy to get a contract, but can you really sustain it? Can you do the deliverables? That's another question, which is when me and Mo come in handy, because we're going to look at you right away and say, oh, you trying to supply bullets to the Pentagon? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Let me see what your budget looking like. But we're not properly budgeting a lot of times.
Yeah, it's true. It seems like the system is very different from America than it is here, and I kind of get that, because whereas here, like, we going up for contracts, we already know we're not, because it's always like the same companies that bid for the same things and tend to win them. The councils tend to renew the same people, and that's how it is here. But yeah, the War Dogs film, I would advise anybody watch that.
Yeah, that was a good movie, and it was based on a true story.
Yeah, I think a point to add for the watching public, again, I think one of the key factors is where America is definitely a hardcore capitalist country. England, I think, suffers a bit more from the colonialism side of things, from the old boys club. So as the Sister Victoria was just stating, we get a lot of the same companies, the same gentlemen's clubs coming together, convening, greasing one another's palms. And that's where it's, you know, certain times it can be a lot harder to tender for contracts here or kind of break the mold of getting into the mix certain times. But, you know, again, it's not an excuse to not try to form stuff. But I think that is definitely a problem that we suffer from here, where our numbers are a lot smaller. So to break the mold of what, you know, again, that upper elite club class as, the, you know, this is tradition, this is who we've always dealt with, this company has been running from such and such time. I think in America, it's a lot more money driven, in the sense that if you can provide the service, if you do have certain paperwork in play, then they will give you a shot to a certain extent. Not that there's definitely no exploitation, but those are two different dynamics that I see personally, as far as UK to USA in tendering for contracts and doing business at certain times. But again, I just want to thank everybody that's been watching up until this point. Again, reminding the people, this show has been called Financial Growth in Business and in the Community, because not only have we been talking about the individual, but we've also been talking about the wider knock-on effects and the connotations to banding together, to investing together, and those kind of angles. And I really want to thank the sisters again for joining us today and giving us their knowledge so far. From what I can see in the chat room, everybody's loved it. Everybody's enjoyed Sister Victoria giving us the knowledge from the UK perspective. And again, our revisiting USA sisters, the powerhouse from the Dagger Squad, bringing that knowledge again. So again, Terry, are you there, brother?
Yeah, as I'm saying is that we're still waiting on one vital person coming in. He's just messaged me, but on the forms of the community, because as I said, as we're building and we're bridging and we're talking, you know, a lot of people would say, "Oh yeah, but this is just all talk." And they always say the proof is in the pudding, by showing what we do and what we're about. In showing in the future tenses, as I said, like with the women's group, is trying to work towards an international community conference in enhance of showing that proof that what we can do and what we're about, and we want to teach the community by drawing everyone in, so that we can able to uplift ourselves to the next level. Now, I'm trying to look at all these aspects, but I want to find out, how can we bond in showing that proof? Do you get what I'm saying, Richard? Because, you know, we one thing with us black people, as we always say, we are the best talkers in the world. But how do we take that action? What do we need to show to push something forward?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yes, my dear.
Sorry, and I hope I'm not talking a lot, but I just this topic's just been running on my mind anyway for a long time, just this whole conversation.
Yeah.
especially, you know, tapping into sort of what I call the millennial age group, and everybody, because it affects all of us. But I think my generation were more passionate and more tired, and we want to do more things. So I'll just talk about my personal, what I am doing, and how. So I'm raising £10 million. Literally, I do monetization of all sorts of instruments and work with other people, but I've raised this money. I'm raising this money, and there are 5 projects that I will be pledging £2 million to. So we've got a school, we've got a Black supplementary school that we are funding. They need money. They need to stay open. We've got a charity where we're building. So with another funder of mine, we're building or attempting to build 450 women's sanctuaries, homes for women of domestic abuse and violence. Particularly, my charity is, the beneficiaries are, well, I say my trust because it's not actually, it's a trust. The beneficiaries are women of Caribbean and African descent living in England. So we're looking at building homes, and over the next couple of years, we are going to be building our own social housing group. We're also going to be expanding the schools that we already have. So there's a Croydon supplementary educational project. We're going to be funding that expansion so we can open up more schools, and also acquiring assets like buildings. These are some of the things that I'm doing personally, using what, you know, the leverage that I have, the contacts that I have, the people that support this. Because what we don't have is the assets and the resource, like the tangible things like premises, for where we can actually do things. Because the thing is, we need things, we need resources, we need schools, we need a council, we need a place where a person of color can come and say, I need £250,000 to start my business, and not have to struggle to do that. So what I'm doing, and this is just, and anyone who wants to connect with me and get involved, you know, I'm happy to, and all ears. But what I'm doing is channeling the money from one place and parking it somewhere, because this is what we go through. Especially, I'm going to talk about England. To me, it's borderline humanitarian crisis, because there's so much suffering, there's so much poverty, and people do want to get out, people do want better, but the facilities and resources are just not there. And we can't wait on, you know, the government to do it. We as the individuals, as the people, we have to do it. So this is what I'm doing, and that's my work I'll be doing pretty much for the rest of my life, which is raising money and building infrastructure for people of the Caribbean and African community living here, particularly in England. That's what my trust works with. So yeah, that's just where I stand.
Because
okay. What the Dagger Squad is working on currently, we are trying to get at least 100 people, men and women, to own their own businesses. This will create generational wealth instead of that, because here in the US, we're stuck on, I have to get a degree, I have to, you know, go to this 9 to 5 and climb that corporate ladder. Well, in 2017, that is not working. We are not getting hired. Women nor Black men, for sure, are not getting hired. If you are getting hired, you're not making any money. So you cannot pass down generational wealth if you're not making that money. So our goal is to get 100 men and women started with their own businesses. We want to actually get people to purchase land and build communities where you want to purchase abandoned towns. That is another thing that we're doing so that we could start sustaining ourselves. We have gotten away from growing our own food, making our own clothes. We just literally cannot take care of ourselves. We have to get everything that we have, we're getting it from someone else, another community, down to our hair. We don't even buy black with our hair. We're going to another community to get that. So our goal is to for self-sustainment. And in order to do that, you have to start building businesses. You need to start purchasing abandoned towns, and you need to become self-sustainable with your food products, with your body, just getting your nutritional facts and body together. So that is some of the things that we're working on currently. Actually, we're going out to Houston because I'm sure, as everybody knows, Houston just had a massive hurricane to come through and flood it out. So right now, billions of dollars are being poured into Houston, but our black businesses aren't getting that money. All the contracts that I've seen so far are out of state companies that is getting this money. So we're going down there to get some of the Houston people businesses and contracts from FEMA so that they can start back building. And the other thing that is going on well, because most people know Houston has a large black population. Houston is very, African American out there. So we're trying to get out there to make sure out of them billions that's coming through there, that we're going to get some of that money. Some of our small businesses will get that money. So that's some of the projects we're working on currently.
As I can see, because like for me, as I've got I'm starting up a business which is called The New Beginning, and I'm trying to connect all the dots together so that I can able to build an international community trade center so that it can in line with what everyone is doing by collaborating and unifying the African diaspora. Because for me, I have an understanding that it's only going to take us as the African diaspora to create change. So hello?
I said facts, that's true.
Yeah, so for us to able to create that change is able for us to go back to the same old school beginning. For me, is to understand the format of trade, so that if I can understand trade, of able to trade within the countries, whatever you have in the States and what we have in the UK, and able to exchange in forms of products, services, or whatever it is, so that if we have a hub center, then we can all have figures of heads or a few people from each community coming to one place and negotiating in enhance of why we want to grow this international community conference, so that it can build from that to building that center. And within that center, it will be like an arena where we can able to do our events within it. We can able to create schools, and to everyone to able to have some form of office within the building. So it could be a small office, but represents whoever the organization is, or wherever the community is, or wherever the company that is provided is.
Most def.
So hold on. Richie, Amanda just text her email. I'm gonna send it to you now. All right.
We'll get her in.
Okay. And this woman would explain on the enhance of the gold and the diamonds that that she embarks on, and her going to Sierra Leone. So Richie, ask us. Go on another question while I'm doing that at this moment.
All right. We've got like all this divine feminine energy on the panel. Like, again, as Black sisters, what attributes and qualities do you feel as Black sisters you naturally bring in forms of business? Because again, you know, we always like to think of the times of business again in that male chauvinistic view of they're always men. But again, what do you think are the natural talents that being a Black woman brings to the business world? Anybody can answer that one.
Okay. Well, the number one thing that I know all of us on this panel bring women is that persuasiveness. We have that ability to persuade you to do what we would like for you to do, and you think it was your idea. So we have that ability to do that, when it comes to our men. So just that persuasive energy to make sure that, as a whole, a business is taken care of. Because some men, yeah, you guys rule with the iron fist, but when that feminine energy come in there, it gets a little different. It gets a little softer, and you kind of lean and do what we need to do. Women, we have stopped a lot of wars. We've started some, yes, but we have stopped a lot of wars in the world. So I would like to say we bring that persuasive energy in there.
That's all.
Yeah.
One.
Did you want someone else to answer that, or was that just?
Yeah. No. You're all gonna answer it, please.
Okay, so I mean, going to the last one, I think, because when you asked the last question, I was thinking, what does it take to be a good entrepreneur? But I think as a woman of color, Black woman, I think the skills that we have is resilience. I think Black women, especially, we've fought a hard battle and a long battle, whether it's just through underrepresentation in the media, whether it's through the fact that we live in a sexist society, which, there's a lot of abuse and violence against women, who tend to be the ones that, take care of the family. So I think our resilience and strength, which comes naturally just from the fact of our life. When we were born into circumstances, it probably wasn't very rosy for most Black women. Most Black women I know have been a victim of abuse of some sort, whether it's sexual, emotional, mental. And I think those women, including myself, who can still do that, you go through that, you become resilient. Things that are thrown at you because you've been through so much hardship in your own life. When it comes to business hardship, it's just a phase, because you think, I've faced bigger battles than this, and that's how I am, because I've faced so many battles in my personal life being a Black woman. Business is it's just business. It doesn't faze me. I'm not scared in the boardroom. I'm not scared by, failure. I know I'm strong enough to overcome it. So I think that's what Black women definitely bring when it comes to business.
No doubt. Mon, and we've been joined, I think, by our newest guest. I don't know whether she can hear me. Amanda?
Hi, Amanda.
I think she's dropped out.
Okay, then 1 minute.
Monica, are you there? Okay. I think Mom's on silent. That's cool. We'll be coming back. All right. So just for, again, the viewing public, thank you for joining us again. And we have got 2 fresh people coming on the panel, hopefully, shortly, just to join the conversation before we wrap it up today. Hopefully we can get the sister back on to elaborate and talk to us on trading with the continent, because that's what this sister does, as Terry was saying earlier. She deals in precious metals and stuff, so she'll definitely have a perspective to have. And for anyone who doesn't know, all this currency behavior and talk is all set on precious metals. So, this is definitely a key part of the conversation I would like to hear, based on that premise as well. While we're waiting for that, Victoria, if you could possibly give everybody your details of some of your organizations, because a lot of the people in the chat want to get your details, want to hear how to reach you, how to get more information on the Bitcoin talk and all the rest of it. So if you could give out some of those details, please, that would be much appreciated.
Sure. So Instagram, it's Ms. Walker Said It. So it's Ms. Walker Said It. Because I'm quite vocal and opinionated, so I'll just say what I think. So yeah, Ms. Walker Said It. And that's my Twitter. I don't really use Twitter, but I do have an account there. I am quite heavily on Facebook because I do a lot of lives, and so Facebook is Victoria Walker. You should be able to find me. I'm the lady with the Bitcoin financial entrepreneur. I'm sure if you search for me, you'll find me. Don't really do YouTube. I do have a channel though, so I'm sure if you search for me. But yeah,
Well, they can
Those are my
find you here
handles.
now. That's all. Black Eyes TV, they'll find you right here, right now.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, as at me, Miss Walker said it, Facebook, Victoria Walker, and I run my Bitcoin business is Cryptoria Investments. So if you go to cryptoriainvestments.com, you will find a page. Really, my community is, I keep them quite close knit, but I do workshops and I do training and I do lives and I do education. So if you connect with me, you'll be able to join my mailing list, find out when I'm doing my next workshops or events, and come and connect with me. So yeah.
All right, perfect. And again, to the people that are watching, I will get the sister to send over the details so I can post them up on the information for this video. So again, anybody that doesn't hear it now or is too lazy to rewind the video, yeah, the link will be posted. And again, I want to give a shout out as well to the Entrepreneurs Club, who I have done some filming with and that's supported by the Nation of Islam, so dealing with business issues, trying to uplift the community, and they're trying to also kind of provide the service that the bank would, in actual fact, you know, deal with loans or for businesses, for housing in different countries. So shout out to the Entrepreneurs Club. Shout out to Minister Rakim, or Minister Hillary, as he might be known, more familiar by. Shout out to the Nation of Islam. Shout out to my boy Aziz. Yeah, they're doing their thing once a month, and they're also dealing with a lot of the financial issues that we have talked about and dealt with this evening. I don't know what's going on with our newest panel member, Terry.
Yeah.
Play.
I just contacted her. I think she got a bit frightened because she heard too much noise. But I'm trying to make her come back in. But on the basis of that, as I was saying, it is as we've gone over quite a lot of things of business and the community and the growth. And it's engaging with the general public and showing the public what everything is about and what we need to go through, because what a lot of people don't really see is what happens behind the scenes. So some people just look at something and they think, yeah, that person just got successful out of the blue, not knowing the sheer hard work that they have gone through, especially when you need people to be patient in many ways. So I'm going to try to see if I can get these two to come in. If I don't get through to them, I will get back to you within 5 minutes. So just keep the dialogue going so that we can give some information and some gems to the general public, and then we can continue building from this to other topics. As you know, on the 28th, we're going to have another sisterhood, Power Sisters event, which will now elaborate in the forms of building, you know, and we're going to be doing quite a lot of footages coming in October for Black Eyes TV 7. So I'm just going to leave you to do what you have to do, Richie, and give me about 5 minutes and I'll be back.
All right. Nice one. Cheers. Thanks for leaving me in it.
Women terrorize him, pull him apart. He's just a hunter.
That's all. Let me gather some more
information. Give me 5 minutes and then I'll tell you where we stand. Okay. All
right. If we can't get the panelists on, then we might just wrap up the show as it stands. But before we go, Victoria, I just want to ask you, when it comes to institutions that deal with our finances, what, in your opinion, in the UK, do you think we need the most in place as far as the wider community benefits? You know, are we talking credit unions? Are we talking scholarship type funds? what, in your opinion, when you're looking at the wider community, still from the financial angle, do you think institution-wise, do you think we need more of, or we don't have at all?
Our own banks. It was really simple. Our own banks. We need to stop relying on the Bank of England and this monetary system, because it's a con, it's a fraud, it defrauds people every day. You create when you take out a loan or a mortgage, if you get one based on your criteria, you're being defrauded each time. It's all paperwork, it's all contract law. So what we need is a fairer system of banking for everybody, not just even us, for everybody, the whole world. But I think our community particularly, we need back our own Wall Street. We need our own places where we can go, because remember, we still suffer from systemic racism. As much as people like to pretend it doesn't happen, it happens. You know, it's there. It's just, you know, it's under the they sign it off as, oh, well, you didn't meet criteria, but criteria is already set out so that if you live in a certain borough or certain area, you're not going to get it. Or the educational factor that you don't get taught how to manage your money in school. Why? Because they want you to be in debt. Why? Because then they want you to pay off that debt and work in their company, so you continue to pay that debt off. So my point is that we need our own businesses, we need our own banks, we need our own schools, because without the infrastructure and system, we're constantly going to be the slaves, rightly so, the slaves of this system, which doesn't serve us. We serve it. So we need our own banks, we need our own educational facilities, we need our own investors who are actually going to take their money out of the system, build our own currency, perhaps. I know these are big, you know, wow, bit out there, but this is what we need. You know, this system doesn't serve us. It never has. And that's what people need to remember. I mean, we went from slavery, actually being like forced by slave, you know, forced into slavery, then conned into it, which is the employment system. And this believed idea that we're actually free, but we're not, because the promissory notes or the bank notes that they just print and print and print and print as much as they want and limit it to who they want to give it to, really suppresses us and continues to suppress us. So yeah, in answer to your question, we need banks, we need schools, we need educational facilities, we need assets, and we need people to wake up.
Most definitely, most definitely. Mon, are you still with us?
And so just on that note, guys, I'm going to love and leave everybody. I'm sorry to cut out so.
No, that's cool. As I said, we're coming to a close because, as I said, the other two that were supposed to come in are having difficulties in where they are. It was very entertaining. We got the information, and you know, we will do a part 2 of this, which we will make sure that everyone is in. And Victoria, you said you wanted to elaborate on another topic that we were going to bring you back on. So I just want you to just give a little brief of what you wanted to talk about in future references.
All right, so it's about sexual harassment as women in business, especially online, especially as a Black woman as well. There's a lot of fetishization of Black women, which means there's a lot of men that think it's appropriate to make sexual comments just because I'm a woman, and also just because I'm Black, I believe, because I've had a lot of racial stuff come through. And so I just was highlighting highlighting this, and I guess it doesn't affect all Black women. I'm a little bit more glamorous, but I feel like just because I dress a certain way shouldn't mean that I'm subject, or even look a certain way, shouldn't mean I'm subjected to abuse, to harassment. It's been an ongoing thing, a massive battle. Obviously, those who were on my social media did see my complete rant and meltdown because of it, because it just, you know, every day it's like you are getting hundreds, well, okay, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but every week, definitely hundreds of, you know, random men, and it's not just people, it's men, particularly men of all cultures, but I would say majority were Caucasian, who thought it was acceptable to continue to harass me, say inappropriate things, send me inappropriate pictures, and there's a massive culture on it, and I wanted to speak on it. I think me raising the topic of what I call sexual harassment did touch a lot of nerves, because my view is that we should all respect each other's boundaries, and there's a time and a place for everything. And if you feel, I don't think as a businesswoman, my socials are very business focused. Like, you know, everything's quite clear what I do, what I'm there for. but we just have hundreds of people that's men, sorry, because it is just men. And this is why I think being targeted just because I'm a woman is a form of harassment. It's a form of gender harassment. And it's a form of sexual harassment when it's sexual content. You know, some people, they are, well, it's the price you pay for being in the public eye. No, I don't feel so that should be so. I think we need to talk on the matter.
Okay. And that will be in future references. So look out for that, ladies. If you've heard what she's got to say, and bring your comments and bring your information of if you've been harassed and you want to come in and join us on that particular day, which I will announce beforehand. So if you're interested in that kind of information and you want to know more about it, hit us up on blackeyestv@gmail.com, or hit us up on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. So if you want to join us, we can all go into this Google Hangout and we can show the world what this is about.
Definitely.
And other than that, we want to thank all the people around us. We love our community. We love our people. We are an African diaspora, and we have to keep on building and uniting. We have to be in that strong railroad train, because we're going to open every single door. We're going to be in every single house. You can't miss us. We are coming.
That's right. We're coming.
We're coming. So you best open up your door and say, you give us all the love you have, because we need to share that love to be a stronger bond. So you know what? For us to able to move forward, I love you lot, family out there, and keep on watching, keep on subscribing, and keep on shopping black.
Right.
That's all.
Right, guys. Well, thank you for having me, and I really appreciate meeting everybody and all the listeners. And I really do want to connect with everybody. So please hit me up on the socials, reach out, and let's just stay connected and do what Terry says. Let's build and let's create what we want, because we do have the power to do it.
Oh, and before I log out and before I end this show, I want to explain on the 14th of September, we have a girl called Cheryl Phoenix, who has the Child Agenda with Dr. Mayat at 9 p.m. on the 14th of September. That's going to be a beautiful show.
Most definitely. Yeah, I want to thank all the people that's tuned in. Definitely straight from me, Brother Richie, Black Eyes TV, everybody's involved. Shout out to Jareds, Free Souls. Go and subscribe. Another channel, big. Shout out to Titans TV. Shout out to HMP TV. Shout out to Content Over Everything. Boy, shout out to Sarnetta. Shout out to Black News 102 and the whole crew over there. Shout out to
TV. And the shout out to Black Magic.
That's all. Black Magic all day long. Red Pill, Blue Pill doing their thing. Brother Rich over there doing your thing.
And
Black
check out Minister Inky, because he's the healthy guy of the planet. And don't forget the one and only, the biggest out of them all. He just came back in. But shout out to the Dagger Squad. Shout out to the Mr. Garfield himself.
You got a few words for us, Garfield, before we sign out?
Yeah, I'm sorry, family. My signal on my phone, I was driving. I'm home now. So, I mean, y'all about to sign off. But it's all good, though. This is Brother Garfield. And we gonna make this happen, family. We're going to make it happen in the next round. We're going to have another connection probably in another month or two. So, you know, we get it in on economics. You know, we there on Saturday every Wednesday. So, just continue doing the shows, and we see what we bring to the table and what you guys bring to the table. The sister is very knowledgeable in crypto. I'd love to have her on one Wednesday or tomorrow if she want to come on, because she's brilliant, man. That sister is brilliant. The only problem is we on at 11 o'clock at night, your time. So I don't know how that goes, especially when you're married and stuff. You know, your husband gonna be like, "Hey, ain't none of that going on." You know, so I don't want to, you know. But if she wants to, we got a show on Facebook in the mornings at it would be like around 1 o'clock your time, 1:25 your time. You know, if you want to come on any day of the week, just let me know, because we on 8:25 a.m. every morning in America.
Yeah.
So Monday to Friday. So if you want to come on, just inbox me, shoot me a friend request. I'm Garfi Reed on Facebook, and you could come on and get it in, man. I'd love to have you on. And the beauty of having you on is you're from abroad and you're telling people in America they could do what you're doing while you're in the UK.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, I got so much things that you guys could do in the UK, man. Even the royalty gem that I got. You guys, it sends out a text to Android phones within 100 yards.
Yes, I know about that technology. Very, very powerful.
Very powerful. So if you go into a stadium, everybody could get a text message. So who has an Android phone? Let's just be clear. Whoever has an Android phone will get a text.
You know the funniest thing, Garfield?
Yes, sir.
I've got the machine already.
Big up.
Because you know I've got an advertising company, which is called Supreme Advertising and Distributions. And what we do, I've got a machine that I carry with me, which blasts out to every Wi-Fi and Bluetooth machine. So I can be in a football stadium, whatever contents of video contents or advertisement, as in PDF or whatever it is, I just sit in that event and I just blast to the mass.
Damn, I love that. I love that, family. Love that. Yeah, but again, family that's listening, I apologize. My signal, I trust me, I be hearing a lot of bad signals on my show. So I hate to be on people's show and have bad signal. Look at Mo.
Well, because put me on blast.
I didn't call no names.
Mo, have you got anything to say?
Nope. Y'all are wonderful.
My team is the bomb, man. I love my team, man. I love my team. All right. Hey, Mo, me, you, and Cher, we got to talk tonight, by the way, later on. All right. Nothing important. Just to talk about Houston and everything. All right. And sister, I don't even know her name. Victoria. I'm sorry. Yeah, Victoria. I'm Brother Garfield. You're Sister Victoria. Nice to meet you, man. Nice to meet you. All right.
Me too. Yeah, we'll connect. Definitely. We'll connect.
Let's just say your looks and your accent matches. Okay.
I'd say that's a compliment.
I love that.
It's security on Garfield.
All right. Peace and love, family. I'm out.
Okay.
Thanks for the invite again, brother. Thanks for the invite.
We'll keep on building.
Anytime.
All right. Peace and love, brother.
Listen,
one love. Yes, sir.
And this is what we do, people. Black Eyes TV, USA, UK link-up shows, bridging the gap. This has been financial growth in business and in the community. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching, liking, sharing. Yeah, big up to everybody. And we will see you again very soon with another big show for the public. Yeah. Thank you again. Peace.